Epic Chronicles of Dren, the Troupe Saga, Episode 4, A New Dawn.
As the dawn breaks over the town of Phaladin, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the streets, usually bustling with life, are eerily empty, except for one figure. This figure is Daran Edermath, the half-elf mayor whose presence commands respect and authority. His gaze, filled with a blend of concern and determination, surveys the town he has vowed to protect. The rumble of a carriage interrupts the quiet of the morning, drawing Daran's attention. As it comes to a stop, Sildar Hallwinter steps out, his appearance bringing a wave of relief to Daran's features. The two men share a heartfelt embrace, a silent exchange of camaraderie and shared history.
Sildar, my friend, it's a relief to see you safe and in one piece. We feared the worst.
As they part from their embrace, Daran's voice carries through the morning air, summoning Sister Garaele from the monastery. The elf cleric of Tymora, her steps light and purposeful, approaches with a healer's grace.
Welcome back, Sildar. Let's tend to your wounds. Your return brings hope to Phaladin.
Her gaze then shifts to the party, her eyes reflecting a quiet gratitude. As she introduces herself, the party members respond in kind, but it is Erzo's reaction that stands out. His gaze lingers on Sister Garaele, a mixture of admiration and something deeper, etching itself across his features. The first sparks of a romance yet to unfold. Sildar, now steadied on his feet thanks to Sister Garaele's skilled ministrations, turns to the party with a depth of gratitude that words can scarcely convey.
I owe you all my life. Without your bravery and the leadership of Lord Percival, my journey would have ended in the shadows of that cave.
Lord Percival, standing tall and composed, deflects the praise.
The true heroes are those who stand beside me. Their courage, their strength has turned the tide. It is they who deserve the honor.
With that, Lord Percival begins distributing the promised payment, his actions marked by a generosity befitting his noble status. As the adventurers receive their share, a sense of accomplishment fills the air, a momentary respite in their relentless journey. But duty calls, and Lord Percival, ever the faithful servant of Verdantis, prepares to depart. His farewell is a blend of warmth and resolve, a promise of continued support in the trials that lie ahead.
Farewell, brave souls. Remember, the path of valor is never walked alone. Until we meet again.
With a final nod, he spurs his horse forward, the clatter of hooves fading into the distance. As he leaves, the party and the townsfolk of Phaladin stand united, their hearts bolstered by the bonds forged in adversity and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. In the aftermath of Lord Percival's departure, the party finds themselves gathered in the heart of Phaladin. The town, though in need, is a hive of quiet activity, townspeople cautiously emerging to witness the new dawn brought forth by their saviors. Daran Edermath, the venerable half-elf mayor, turns to address the group, his voice carrying the weight of gratitude and newfound hope.
Your deeds have not gone unnoticed, brave adventurers. Phaladin owes you a debt of gratitude, but, as you can see, our troubles are far from over. Your presence here could be the turning tide we desperately need.
Akra, her draconic heritage evident in her proud stance, eyes Daran with a hint of curiosity and a wry smile.
Oh, and what might the mighty mayor of Phaladin require from a group of wandering heroes? More bugbears to slay, or perhaps something a tad more civilized?
Daran chuckles at Akra's jest, appreciating the levity in these trying times.
Well, for starters, a peaceful night's sleep would be a luxury for many here. But indeed, your skills could be pivotal in more ways than one, whether it's defending our walls or aiding our people. Phaladin could use heroes like you.
Erzo, still visibly enamored by Sister Garaele's grace, nods in agreement, his usual stoicism softened by the cleric's presence.
We faced darkness and emerged victorious. Helping Phaladin regain its strength and spirit would be an honor, Sister Garaele.
Sister Garaele, her eyes meeting Erzo's, offers a gentle smile.
Your strength and courage are a beacon of hope, Erzo. Tymora's blessings are surely with you all.
Thoradin, his beard bristling with a sense of purpose, turns his attention to Daran. recognizing a fellow warrior's mettle.
Daran, you wear your armor like a man who's known battle. Tell me, are you a part of the Order of the Gauntlet? Your stance speaks of a discipline I've come to respect.
Daran's eyes light up with a spark of the warrior spirit that never truly fades. Once in the Order, always in the Order, my stout friend. Though my days on the front lines are fewer, the fight for justice never truly ends. Keth, amused by the camaraderie forming between Thoradin and Daran, chimes in with his usual blend of sarcasm and insight. Well, if we're recruiting our warriors and charming clerics, we might just turn this town into a fortress yet. But let's not forget, we've got a fair share of loot to decipher, especially that ominous book Mordekai seems so fond of. Mordekai, his gaze lingering on the mysterious tome, can't help but respond with a smirk. Ah, my dear Keth, fear not, I have every intention of unravelling its secrets. And who knows, the darkness it whispers of might just be the edge we need. As Mordekai's words fade into the brisk morning air, a subtle shift occurs, unnoticed by all but the most attuned to the arcane currents that weave through the fabric of existence. The atmosphere around the party subtly thickens, a nearly imperceptible change, like the faintest ripple on a still pond. Mordekai, his fingers absently tracing the spine of the enigmatic book, pauses mid-gesture. His eyes, normally alight with the spark of curiosity and mischief, cloud over with a momentary haze. It's as if the very air around him whispers secrets that are ancient, profound, and unnervingly alien. Curious, there's a resonance here, a pattern that dances just beyond the edge of comprehension. It's as if... He trails off, his brow furrowing in concentration. The book, its cover as black as the void, seems to absorb the light around it, casting a subtle, unsettling shadow that goes unnoticed by the group, caught up as they are in their camaraderie and plans for the future. In that fleeting moment, a whisper of thought, not entirely Mordekai's own, brushes against the edges of his mind. It's a fleeting touch, like the caress of a shadow, gone as quickly as it appeared, leaving behind a faint echo of something vast, something ancient, something that lies dormant in the depths of the world and the recesses of the mind. The moment passes, and Mordekai shakes his head, as if to dispel a half-remembered dream. The weight of the book in his hands feels suddenly more significant, its presence a silent sentinel to the unknowable mysteries it holds within its pages.
Mordekai, are you well? You seem distant.
Oh, just lost in thought, sister. The path of knowledge is a winding one, and sometimes it leads through shadows. But fear not, for I am guided by the light of curiosity and the company of brave souls. Thoradin's brow furrows in silent contemplation, his keen intuition sensing the subtle undercurrents of change that seem to ripple from the book in Mordekai's hands. He makes a mental note to keep a watchful eye on the tome and its effects on the enigmatic wizard, but he says nothing, storing his concerns away for a more private moment of inquiry. As the group discusses their next steps, Mordekai, eager to shift the mood to a more light-hearted one, claps his hands together with a mischievous grin. Enough of this somber talk. We've earned ourselves a bit of celebration, don't you think? I say we find the nearest tavern and see what kind of trouble we can stir up. Akra, ever the embodiment of fierce energy and unrestrained spirit, throws her head back and lets out a hearty cheer that echoes through the streets of Phaladin. Hell yes! A tavern sounds like the perfect remedy for these aching muscles. First round's on me. The rest of the party, feeling the contagious excitement in the air, readily agree. Together, they make their way through the winding streets of Phaladin, the town slowly coming to life as the morning progresses. The laughter and camaraderie of the group draw curious glances from the townsfolk, but there's a warmth to their presence, a sense of hope that seems to spread with every step they take. Erzo, who had been quietly observing Sister Garaele, finally breaks away from his reverie, a soft smile playing on his lips as he joins the others. The prospect of a warm tavern, good company, and perhaps another chance to speak with the enchanting cleric seems to lighten his step. The group arrives at the local tavern, the Drunken Dragon, its signs swinging gently in the morning breeze. The scent of roasted meat and freshly baked bread wafts out as they open the door, a welcome invitation to rest and revel in the successes of their journey thus far. Its walls, adorned with tapestries depicting tales of legendary heroes and mythical beasts, seem to come alive in the presence of the adventurers. As they settle into a large, sturdy table near the hearth, the innkeeper, a jovial halfling named Balin, approaches with a beaming smile. "Welcome, brave souls! Word of your deeds has already reached the Drunken Dragon. What can I fetch for you on this fine morning?" Akra, her eyes scanning the menu with a warrior's appetite, is the first to respond.
"Bring us your finest ale, and a feast fit for the heroes of Phaladin. We've got tales to tell, and thirsts to quench."
"Right away, Miss Akra. You'll have our best brews, and a feast that'll make you sing praises to the gods themselves." As Balin bustles away to fulfill their order, the group relaxes into the comfortable ambience of the tavern. The crackling fire, the murmur of conversation, and the clinking of tankards create a symphony of contentment. Thoradin, his gaze lingering on the door, as if expecting something, or someone, to appear, finally turns his attention to Mordekai.
Mordekai, that book, there's something about it that doesn't sit right with me. Be careful with what secrets it might hold.
Thoradin, my friend, worry not. I've dealt with arcane mysteries more perplexing than this, but I appreciate your concern.
Just then, a faint, almost perceptible whisper seems to emanate from Mordekai's satchel, where the book is safely tucked away. It's a whisper that carries a melody, a rhythm that's oddly captivating, yet no one but Mordekai seems to notice it.
Intriguing. What wonders and whispers do you hold within your pages?
The night at the Drunken Dragon, once filled with laughter and camaraderie, is abruptly shattered by the arrival of 8 menacing Redbrands. They swagger in with a brazenness that reeks of aggression and malice.
"Look at this sorry bunch. Who the hell do you clowns think you are, lounging in our fucking tavern?"
The Redbrands encircle the party, hurling insults and threats with a viciousness that cuts through the previously jovial atmosphere. Sister Garaele steps forward, attempting to defuse the situation with calm authority.
"Gentlemen, I must ask you to leave. This is a place of peace, not—"
Akra, her fiery temperament flaring up, cuts her off with a scathing retort.
"Let's see if you've got the balls to back it up. Or are you just full of shit?"
The tension escalates as a Redbrand, scarred and sneering, grabs a drink and splashes it over the party. As the ale splashes over them, a sudden flash of movement catches everyone's eye. Osborne, who had been an unassuming shadow in the corner, springs into action. In one fluid, deadly motion, he plunges his dagger into the eye of the Redbrand closest to him. The tension in the Drunken Dragon reaches a boiling point as the Redbrand's aggression is met with an equally forceful response from the party. Amidst the chaos of the ensuing brawl, Mordekai seizes the opportunity to exact a measure of revenge on the Redbrands for their crude behavior. With a mischievous glint in his eye, Mordekai dashes towards one of the Redbrands, delivering a well-aimed kick to the man's groin. The Redbrand crumples with a groan, his face contorted in pain. Not satisfied with just physical retaliation, Mordekai quickly follows up with a spell, his hands weaving arcane gestures as he mutters the incantation. A burst of colourful, crackling energy erupts from his fingertips, striking another Redbrand squarely in the face, leaving the man dazed and disoriented. The rest of the party joins the fray with a mixture of discipline and wild energy. Akra swings her sword in wide, powerful arcs, her strikes a dance of destruction. Each blow she delivers sends a Redbrand sprawling, yet she holds back enough to ensure she doesn't deal a fatal wound. Thoradin wields his axe with a ferocity that matches his stout frame. Erzo, calm and precise amidst the chaos, moves like a shadow, his blade finding its mark with each swift, calculated strike. He disables his opponents with a surgeon's precision. Keth, agile and quick, darts in and out of the melee, his swordplay a blur of motion. He taunts the Redbrands with each strike, his sarcasm as sharp as his blade. Osborne, silent and deadly, reappears from the shadows, his daggers a whirlwind of steel. he strikes with a rogue's cunning, disabling his foes with rapid and lethal strikes. His face a mask of focused intensity. As the fight continues, Sister Garaele's voice cuts through the din, her plea for mercy ringing loud and clear.
Enough! Please spare them! Violence begets violence, and we must be better than this!
Her words, imbued with a sincerity and urgency, resonate with the party. Gradually, the fight winds down, the Redbrands either fleeing or lying subdued on the tavern floor. The party, catching their breath, turns to Sister Garaele, seeking answers.
Who the hell were those bastards, sister? They seem to know their way around a fight.
Sister Garaele, her face a mixture of relief and distress, answers, her voice tinged with worry.
They're Redbrands, a gang that's been terrorizing Phaladin for too long. They think they own the town, extorting and bullying those who stand in their way. I'm sorry you had to see this side of our town.
Erzo, sheathing his sword, steps closer to Sister Garaele, his concern evident.
Is there anything we can do to help? It seems Phaladin's troubles run deeper than we thought. Your presence here has already made a difference. The Redbrands have never been challenged like this before. Perhaps now they'll think twice before causing more trouble.
As the dust settles in the Drunken Dragon, the bartender, a burly man with a weathered face that speaks of years tending to the needs and tales of travellers, approaches the group, his expression a mixture of gratitude and deep concern.
I can't thank you enough for standing up to those Redbrands, but I must warn you, actions like these, they come with consequences. The Redbrands don't take kindly to being crossed.
The party, still catching their breath from the brawl, turns their attention to him, their expressions a blend of curiosity and defiance.
Oh, should we expect a thank you card from them? Maybe a fruit basket?
The bartender doesn't smile. Instead, he leans in closer, his voice dropping to a whisper, the gravity of his words hanging heavily in the air.
This isn't a joke. Those Redbrands you just humiliated, they're just the foot soldiers. They answer to a much more dangerous man, someone who won't let this slide. I've seen what they can do, the lengths they'll go to for revenge. You've all made yourselves a target now.
Akra, leaning back in her chair, crosses her arms, a smug grin on her face.
Let them come. We've faced worse than a bunch of thugs. If this dangerous man thinks he can intimidate us, he's got another thing coming.
The bartender shakes his head, a weary sigh escaping his lips.
I admire your courage, but this isn't about bravery. It's about the safety of everyone in this town. The Redbrands don't play fair. They'll go after you, sure, but they won't stop there. They'll target the town, innocent people, to get to you.
Erzo, his eyes narrowing, interjects.
So what do you suggest we do? Bow our heads and let these bullies run rampant?
The bartender looks around the tavern, his gaze lingering on the faces of the regulars, the townsfolk who call this place a haven.
No, I'm not saying that. But be aware, be prepared. Maybe it's time Phaladin had a real defense, not just against the Redbrands, but against anyone who threatens its peace. You've already shown you're not afraid to stand up to them. Maybe you're the spark this town needs to ignite its spirit.
Phaladin, stroking his beard thoughtfully, nods in agreement.
Your words hold truth, bartender. We'll take heed of your warning. But running from a fight isn't our way. If the Redbrands or their leader want to face us, they'll find us ready.
In the midst of the tension-filled conversation with the bartender, Phaladin steps forward, his expression serious, reflecting the gravity of their situation.
We may have just escalated things with the Redbrands. It's clear we've made the situation here a bit more complicated.
He then turns to the bartender, his voice steady and respectful.
We appreciate your hospitality and your warning. Could we trouble you for rooms to stay the night? It seems prudent that we remain close, given the circumstances.
The bartender, still wiping down a glass, nods solemnly.
Of course, we can arrange rooms for you all. It'll be a small fee for each room. After all, even with the Redbrands lurking about, business is business.
Phaladin nods in understanding, reaching into his pouch for the required coin. He hands it over, the clink of gold a stark contrast to the hushed tones of the tavern.
Let's meet in one of the rooms. We need to discuss our next moves and share out the loot we've gathered. There's much to plan and prepare for.
The group agrees, their mood a mix of determination and contemplation. They gather their belongings and follow the bartender, who leads them upstairs to their respective rooms. The hallway is dimly lit, the wooden floorboards creaking under their steps, adding to the inn's rustic charm. Once settled in one of the larger rooms, the party gathers around a sturdy wooden table. The loot from their recent adventure is spread out before them, a collection of treasures and artifacts, each with its own story and potential. Keth, eyeing the pile with interest, picks up the mysterious book that Mordekai has been closely studying. "So, what's the deal with this thing? It's not going to start whispering sweet nothings in our ears, is it?" Mordekai, with a smirk, replies, "If it does, I'll make sure to let you know. But seriously, this tome holds secrets that could turn the tide in many ways. Its knowledge is potent." Akra, lounging back in her chair, raises an eyebrow. "Potent, huh? Just make sure it doesn't turn you into one of those brooding, shadowy types. I prefer my wizards with a bit of flair and less doom and gloom." The group shares a light-hearted laugh, the tension of the night momentarily lifted. They proceed to divide the loot, ensuring that each member receives their fair share. The air is filled with the clatter of coins, the rustle of parchment, and the low hum of conversation. The room falls into a comfortable rhythm of conversation and laughter as each member of the party examines their share of the loot. Erzo's hand, almost instinctively, reaches out for the ornate belt, its designs seeming to call out to him. As he holds it, a sense of connection, elusive yet palpable, resonates within him. Akra, her attention caught by the hilt and blueprints for a mysterious weapon, raises an eyebrow in mock exasperation. "Great! A hilt and some fancy drawings. What am I supposed to do with this? Start a collection of unfinished weapons?" Her jest elicits laughter from the group, a moment of lightheartedness in the midst of uncertainty. Erzo, holding the belt, retorts playfully, "Maybe it's like this belt. Perhaps the bugbear had a weird sense of fashion, or maybe it's something more. We'll figure it out." The mood shifts as Thoradin calls out to Osborne, who's been lurking in the shadows.
Osborne, step out of the shadows. We need to talk about what happened earlier.
Osborne steps forward.
"Those Redbrands deserve no less for what they were doing."
We're not executioners, Osborne. Our role is to protect, not to deal death at a whim.
Osborne, his eyes dark with a mix of frustration and resolve, counters,
"Justice! Those Redbrands are tyrants, bullies who thrive on fear. We've just come back from dealing with goblins. How are these thugs any different? If we don't take a stand, who will?"
There's a line, Osborne. Yes, we fought goblins, but in defence, in the face of direct threats. The Redbrands, for all their faults, are still part of this community. We can't resort to the same brutality they display. That's not who we are.
"And what about the people they've hurt, the families they've torn apart? Sometimes the only language bullies understand is force. If we don't show strength, they'll just keep preying on the weak."
Thoradin shakes his head, his expression a mix of disappointment and resolve.
Using their methods makes us no better than them. We need to be better, Osborne. We need to be the example, not part of the problem.
"And while we're setting examples, people suffer under their rule. But we can't just sit back and let them walk all over us and this town."
Before the argument can escalate, Mordekai intervenes with a question, trying to diffuse the tension. "Why the hate for the Redbrands? What's the story there?" Osborne's gaze hardens, and he responds with a cold intensity.
"The Redbrands are more than just a gang of thugs. They're oppressors, bullies who prey on the weak. I've seen their kind before. They don't deserve mercy."
The group falls into a contemplative silence, each member weighing Osborne's words against their own experiences and beliefs. The issue of justice versus vengeance hangs in the air, a moral quandary that each adventurer must confront in their own way.
Osborne, you mentioned earlier about your past with the Redbrands. If it's not too much, could you share what happened? Understanding your perspective might help us navigate this situation better.
Osborne hesitates, his usual confidence replaced by a shadow of vulnerability. He takes a deep breath, his voice lower, carrying the weight of memories long buried.
"I haven't spoken of this to anyone, but you deserve to know. Yes, I was once a member of the Redbrands. It was years ago, back in the city of Neverwinter. I was younger, more reckless, searching for a place to belong."
His eyes, usually so sharp and observant, now gaze distantly, as if viewing scenes from another life.
"The Redbrands and their leader, Jarno Albric, also known as Glassstaff, they offered me that sense of belonging. I was drawn to their strength, their unity, but it didn't take long for me to see the truth behind the surface. Their strength was cruelty, their unity oppression. I witnessed terrible things I still can't shake from my mind."
Thoradin listens intently, his expression one of understanding and sympathy.
"I couldn't stand it. The day I decided to leave, I confronted them. It turned violent and I had to fight my way out. They left me for dead, out there, alone. It wasn't just a betrayal, it was the loss of my family's dagger, a legacy of my ancestor who was a renowned rogue. The Redbrands, they changed when they started dealing with the Drow. Things escalated from robberies to muggings, murders, even slave trading. It was too much. When I stood against them, they stabbed me and left me to die."
The group listens, their expressions a blend of anger and empathy. The story resonates with their sense of justice, igniting a fire of determination within them. Mordekai, breaking the somber mood with a touch of his usual irreverence,
"Well, fuck the Redbrands and Glassass. But let's not stir up shit that the town can't handle, eh?"
Erzo, his voice firm with resolve.
"Maybe it's time we dealt with Phaladin's Redbrand problem, for the town's sake, not just for revenge."
Thoradin nods in agreement, his voice steady and commanding.
"We'll do it not for vengeance, but to liberate the town, to rid Phaladin of this scourge."
Keth and Akra voice their agreement, their commitment unwavering.
"We move carefully, strategically. We must gather information, plan our approach. We're not just avenging Osborne's past, we're fighting for the future of Phaladin."
The group's unity in this decision is palpable. Each member understands the gravity of the task ahead. They are not just adventurers, they are now protectors, liberators in a struggle against a deep-seated evil. As the candle burns lower, casting long shadows across the room, the party prepares for rest. Tomorrow, they will begin their new mission, a campaign against the Redbrands to bring peace to Phaladin. In their hearts, they carry the burden of their pasts and the hope for a better future, a future they are willing to fight for. The night in Phaladin is alive with the sounds of preparation and contemplation, each member of the party engaged in their own rituals and reflections. In a secluded corner of the tavern's courtyard, Akra and Keth engage in a spirited training session. Keth, his movements initially awkward and uncertain, attempts to mimic the ancient stances depicted in the faded tome. Akra, her form a display of natural grace and power, corrects his posture with a mixture of patience and playful jibes.
"You look like a three-legged troll trying to dance, Keth. Loosen up. It's about flow, not force."
Keth, undeterred by her teasing, focuses intently, slowly finding the rhythm and fluidity of the strange poses. The moonlight casts their elongated shadows on the ground, creating a dance of light and darkness. Meanwhile, inside his room, Mordekai delves deeper into the mysterious book, his curiosity a voracious beast that refuses to be sated. The pages, filled with arcane symbols and cryptic writings, seem to whisper to him in an otherworldly tongue. Unbeknownst to him, the influence of the book begins to weave its subtle tendrils around his mind, an influence as ancient as it is malevolent.
"There's a pattern here, a rhythm in the chaos. It's almost like it's speaking to me."
In another part of the tavern, Osborne sits alone, methodically sharpening his blades. The rhythmic sound of steel against stone is meditative, a ritual that grounds him in the present. His expression, however, betrays a turmoil of emotions: anger, determination, and a thirst for retribution against the Redbrands. Thoradin, in his room, engages in a solemn ritual, attempting to break the Dark Rune's power. His chants fill the space, a symphony of divine invocation. Yet, despite his efforts, the rune's dark essence proves resilient, the holy bindings around it starting to fray and weaken. The dwarf's brow furrows in frustration and concern.
By the gods, what darkness lies within this stone? My light seems not to pierce its shadow.
In stark contrast, Erzo sits in silent meditation, the mysterious belt he acquired from the Redbrand's loot lying before him. As he focuses, a voice, ethereal and compelling, whispers in his ear, its tone a blend of temptation and malice.
Embrace your destiny, warrior of shadows. I see your potential, your strength. Join me.
Erzo's eyes snap open, a rare look of fear crossing his usually composed features. The belt, seemingly inert, now feels like a conduit to a power he does not fully understand. A power that reaches out to him from beyond the veil of reality. Each touched in their own way by forces beyond their comprehension, stand at the threshold of a new day. A day that will test their resolve, their unity, and their very souls.